There are people who believe that we're going to have a civil war. We have to fix this.
What amount of responsibility do Black people also have to take in forwarding themselves?
This whole construct of race is just that. It's not real. It's not what really matters.
God is not going to ask you, Marietta, what did your neighbor down the street do? It's about what you've done, what good you've done.
That's where my strong reaction comes from.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting me share all that.
And thank you for telling us.
Yeah, that's powerful.
It's just so wrong, because who you are in life and your success as a person is not predicated on how much money you make and your social standing and the wealth that you accumulate. I firmly believe that because of my experience.
Why so animated?
Well, two things. One is that I've shared with you that I grew up in a community where I felt that we were so isolated because we were so homogeneous. And I hungered and thirsted for connections to people who were not of that same group. That's one part of it. The other part of it is that I was a business counselor, CPA, for 30 some odd years. And I have dealt with people who are on just welfare, social security, whatever, they don't have the economic resources. They're getting by, they have to file a tax return, right? And then people who have so much wealth that they may think they know what to do with it, but they really don't. And it has absolutely no correlation to their character, or their happiness, their satisfaction, their worth as an individual, and their success in life, from my perspective anyway, with the values that I have. And also, I guess I'll share the third part of my existence that impacts me, is that I bought into that so strongly, and we pushed our kids so hard to be academically successful, to get into the right schools and such. And then I saw the outcome, which was not what we hoped for, which was, well, in some senses it was, and in a very real sense, it was not. And I'll just share with you that because of those expectations, in large part, not completely, but in large part, I may have shared with you before that our son committed suicide when he was in college. And so that's where my strong reaction comes from.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting me share all that.
And thank you for telling us.
Yeah, that's powerful.
So I've done a lot of soul searching over the last 20 years since he's been gone. And also since I've retired, and I'm not driven by meeting payroll for all of my employees, and I'm not driven by the expectations of my partners to bring in new business, but to look back at the people that I've known over my career, and over my involvement in the community and my neighborhood and my church and my family, just to get right down to the basics. What really matters?
Yeah, none of this matters.
No, my mom, excuse me, my mom says something that my grandmother always says. And, no matter what you believe, what you call, God, the ultimate being, it's the same. When it is your time, my grandmother and my mother both say, one, how many U-Hauls have you seen traveling behind the hearse? None, can't take it with you. And two, no matter what you believe about heaven, hell, higher being, whatever that is, when you get there, God is not going to ask you, Marietta, what did your neighbor down the street do? with, with their life. Felicia, what did your mom's sister's cousin do? It's
Mhm.
about what you've done, what good you've done. And so I think for me, I always live my life in that sense. I can't worry about it, judging what someone else does or, anything like that. I want to be the best me that I can be and love the most, people that I can possibly love, period.
We really have to start thinking as humans. We have to teach critical thinking skills. The reason why we have racism is because there's a lack of critical thinking skills in our
tribal
society.
mentality.
The reason why we aren't taking care of each other as human beings is because there's a lack of critical thinking skills. And we have these sound bites and these constructs, this idea that, if I get something, then somebody else didn't get something. And that's not really how life works. If you get something, it's because you're supposed to get it. It's part of your journey. It's part of your story. We all have our stories in our journey. And there's an abundance out here of all the fruits and things of life. You have to do the work. If I wanted to do what Beyonce does, I would have to do the work that Beyonce does. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't. And I don't want to. That's not my journey. And I think when we start realizing that this whole construct of race is just that, it's not real. It's not what really matters, and it shouldn't take tragedies in our lives. And a lot of times that's what it's like. A wake-up call is when you have these tragedies in your
George
life.
Floyd.
Yes, that make you realize like, oh shit, we got to do something different. And so I'm hoping, like, the reason why I'm on this show and the reason why I'm invested in this mission is the hope that somebody will watch this, even if it's just one person, which I think it will be millions of people. But even if it's just one person that hears all of us talk about our stories and our lives, and to say, oh, wow, let me think about what I want, how I want to show up, what I want to contribute. Let me question the things I was taught. I was taught that Black people shouldn't come to my church. Maybe I should rethink that, because it's church, it's God. You're gonna gatekeep God. We are, as a society as a whole. And the thing is, yes, white people, if you identify as white, you have to take the anchor responsibility. But it is this is a collective thing that we've got to do together. But white people have to take the responsibility, because white people have the power collectively. And there's no denying that, because we've built the construct, and that's the real outcome of the construct. And in order to dismantle it, white people are going to have to take the helm on it.
Sorry about that.
Can I correct something that I may have left an impression that I don't value education, higher education and such?
Oh,
and that's
no,
not the
no,
case.
that's
No.
not the case.
Yeah,
Nobody's
no.
saying that. No,
Yeah.
no, education is valuable. And we
Yeah.
need more educated people. We
And
need more.
educators.
Yes, no,
Teachers
that
don't make money.
I think Marietta, to me, you expanded the idea of education, right?
yeah.
Yeah. That's
Socially.
what I meant to do, but I will go back to something about my background that proves how bonded we are as a family, as a group, of the value of education and connections, but more the education itself. Because I don't know if I shared that my grandparents were subsistence level farmers, and then that was supplemented by some cash crops and running part of the road building operations in the mountains, et cetera. So it wasn't completely that, but it was very, very close to the image that you might have of, children that only have shoes from November through February so that they can walk to school in the snow, that kind of thing. And maybe they only have one set of clothes to wear and all those other images that you can probably conjure in your mind. But that education was the ticket out for my father and all of his brothers and sisters, that they had somehow exposure to and the value of education and higher education and had an opportunity to do that. And that led to a whole generation of people that were more socially stable and economically stable and successful in monetary terms and so forth. So I do know that that is a very valuable and very meaningful part of the equation. So I didn't want to say that, there aren't economic values to that. There really are. So
I just remember the United Negro College Fund commercial growing up. A mind is a terrible
Terrible
thing
thing to
to waste.
waste.
And I was like, I hope I don't waste my mind. That's when I knew I needed to go to somebody's college. I'm like, well, I don't want to waste my little mind. Yeah.
Just in terms of what Marietta said, I think that's just so, it just says so much about, we don't know somebody else until we get to know them, no matter what we think and presume. And I think that's really important. And, I'm sure that wasn't so easy to share either, Marietta. But, it just, it says something about your whole view about college and everything and the assumptions about life that we make. And then I was also, I don't remember if it was you, Felicia, that mentioned, or you, Andre, I don't remember, that mentioned, those terrible people who paid all that money to get their kids' scores changed. I don't remember what it was. And they really represent themselves. They don't represent everybody. I mean, that's not at all, I don't want to get defensive, but it's not representative of all white people, And I know that there are benefits we all have.
Oh no, wait! I wasn't trying to connect that to white people. That's
that whole value.
That's a human thing. Like there are rich Black people that pay a lot of money to get their kids into Ivies as well. Like there's that's
an economic thing.
That's an economic
Thank
thing.
you for clarifying. That's helpful.
That's an economic thing. No, and I was bringing that up as just another construct, right?
Okay.
Like this idea: go to school, get a good job, move up the socioeconomic ladder. Like there's books written about the system and how to game the system for yourself, no matter where you start, right? And even my mom, she saw her brother. They had two different dads, and so his dad sent for him when he graduated from high school and made him go to Florida A&M University and get a college degree. My mom was told, "You're pretty, marry a man to take care of you, you'll be fine." So she didn't get a college degree, and their lives were vastly different from a socioeconomic standpoint. And so for my mom, she was just so hell-bent on go to school, get a good job, go to school, get a good job. And the expectations were very, very high, and it was very, very difficult because in that nobody asks you, do you know who you are? Do you know why you're here? Do you know, the things that are important? Because the fear for every parent is, when I leave here, is my child going to be able to take care of themselves? Yeah. And the only construct we know on how to do that is go to school, get a good job.
I'm curious about, what amount of responsibility do Black people also have to take in forwarding themselves in our country? I don't know if forwarding is the word, but kind of
moving us forward.
Moving forward, yeah.
Moving us as a society and as a humanity forward. Yeah. I think.
So I want to understand what you mean, and then also what you think. You're responsible.
Black people have to have a level of self-awareness. I think some of us are walking around sleep in the fact that we are not working on our healing journey. Every Black person needs to be in therapy. You are, as a Black person in this country, and I think globally, I haven't lived abroad, but I've talked to Black people in the UK. I've talked to Black people in different parts of the world, and this is systemic. Colorism, colonization, this idea that with darker skin color and pigment comes a discredit and a lessening of your humanity. When you are subjected to that idea and that thought, you need to process this, and you need to figure out how to address it, how to reprogram your mind from it, so that you can live better and contribute better to our society. So it's in macro and micro ways, Black people need to focus on their own healing. And it is a constant struggle because we're still under oppression. We're still being oppressed in many ways. And I think the mind fuck of it all is the idea that you see a Andre that went to Stanford, a me who has an undergrad from the University of Texas at Austin and a MBA from Indiana University's Kelley School of Business. Michelle, I'm sorry, I don't know but I know you're highly credentialed and you an executive in your own right and highly educated. So you see educated Black people who have quote unquote good jobs, and you think, oh, well, that's just the end. But what you don't understand is the trauma we've been subjected to in the places where we work. What you don't understand. Yeah.
It's not, the three of us are not representative. Like
right.
There is the situation when you look at Black people as a collective is very, very different.
Because then you have people like my mother, who was not educated, who had her own traumas in and outside of the workplace, dealing with other Black men who had their own traumas, inflicting other traumas. So you have this community built on, like, I got whoopings when, you listen to Oprah now and she's like, don't spank your kids. And that's something that we picked up from slavery.
I will never forget. So we made the argument, my sister made it to my father when she said, why do you whoop us? You know, that comes from slavery, right? She was making an intellectual argument. She was about like 14 years old. And we were using slavery as a context to get him to stop whooping when we did something bad. And he didn't buy it, but he saw the logic in it.
No, but because it's true. Like, why do Southerners beat their kids? Because that's how you get people to conform. That's how you get a human to dumb themselves down and bend to your will, to give their free will to your will. You beat them into submission. And we have taken so many things from slavery and indoctrinated it into our everyday lives, the way we talk to each other, the way we treat each other. There's a whole public community argument between Black men and Black women. There's a devaluation of Black women by Black men. There's a devaluation of Black men by Black women. And it all stems from this collective trauma stemming from how we were treated in chattel slavery here in this country.
Hundreds of years.
So we, as Black people, need to get help. And then there's this stigmatism like, well, I don't need therapy, I got Jesus. And then there's a white Jesus on the wall. Like, we need help. So we need an awareness to help ourselves. And that's where it starts for Black people. Because if we aren't getting healed, the anger will build. And, what white people need to understand is, you know, a lot of times you hear this thing, we are not our ancestors. Understand, our ancestors were putting glass in the master's food. So let's be real clear. Our ancestors were not docile and just beaten into submission. Like there was ways that they fought. There were a few white people that died at the hands of slaves. Now those slaves probably died, but there will be a fight back. But this time you have groups of Black people who are arming themselves with firearms, getting ready for a civil war. There are people who believe that we're going to have a civil war. We have to fix this. So Black people need to process their anger and their trauma. White people, y'all need to fix it economically, socially. Y'all got to get y'all minds together, because this whole wanting to hold on to this superiority, and I don't want to hear anything, Randy, about individual, because it is a collective work. This whole idea of, well, that's not me, and what can I do? That's the crap we have to stop. Collectively, y'all got to come together. I don't know if y'all need to get on the big white Zoom meeting or something, but y'all got to get together. Y'all got to fix it.
When you say it's not collective, or it's not individual, it's collective, are you, there is no individual role in someone improving their lives and their livelihood, or are you saying something different?
It's walking and chewing gum at the same time. So one, individually, everybody needs to go heal from the BS and the lies. Everybody needs to understand that we need to educate ourselves. We need to work to operate differently. And then we need to pull together as a community to figure out community solutions. We need to elect better politicians who have done their work, who are really there for all the people, not just the corporations, and who want to make change where we collectively live in harmony and unity. And I know it all sounds far-fetched today, but it's not doable. You have people who, human beings, we create. There's a whole movie. Somebody created a movie about the people who made the nuclear bomb. There's a whole movie out right now about that, and that is a thing, and that happened. If we can create destructive things, we can create harmony and unity.
So you're saying it's a both and,
both and, yes.
Say, but tell me if I'm incorrect, and then I know Randy wants to share something, and Marietta, maybe we can kind of bring you in back to the conversation around what you initially reflected on, because it did relate to, taking kind of what one has earned and, what part of it goes to kind of collective solutions. But what I'm hearing from you, Felicia, is individuals do have responsibility to do the things they need to do in their individual lives. And there are obstacles, impediments through the, built up through decades and centuries that require collective solutions to enable someone to have the space, the opportunity to exercise that individual agency and responsibility. That's what am I hearing you? I
think you got to flip it. I think individually, everybody has to come to a same page of, this construct exists. This construct isn't real. It has real consequences, and I need to examine in my life how I'm operating in that construct. And that's actually everybody.
Can I throw out a thought here? In any complex situation, and goodness knows this is a complex situation, it takes a little bit of everything, or a lot of everything, to move things forward to a new place. So for example, I think about the difference between activism in words, activism in deeds at this level, and activism on a neighborhood, community, person to person level. You gotta have it all, I think, because that's the only way it can be reinforced with across all these different fronts. think about changes that have happened in society that I didn't think were possible, like the smoking thing. Good grief. How many times in the 60s, 50s did you think, oh, there'll be a day when people don't smoke very much, or at least not in public places? Well,
At least
how
not
did that
on
happen?
planes.
Yeah, on a plane. It happened because it was on multiple levels in so many different ways. And I think that's part of the journey that we're on, and there'll be setbacks, and there'll be hopefully 3 or 4 steps forward before we take 1 or 2 steps back. And it's just going to be a combination of things at all these different levels. So the responsibility, does it lie with us as individuals in our interactions with each other and in our communities? Yes. Does it also lie in us to be part of a larger effort legislatively, getting out on the street and calling attention to the things that nobody's paying attention to? It all has to happen, doesn't it?
I have never been one for, and I'm still not one for direct cash payments to Black people, because I figure you give people a check, the mall starts having a sale. So I want to see other investments, but I never thought it was able to quantify a number. And through my research and reading his book, there is an actual number that shows the average wealth disparity between whites and Blacks. Now, I want to qualify something with respect to wealth, and Marietta, you probably can appreciate this. So I'm not saying that, oh, like Black people are poor and white people are millionaires. Of course, income ebbs and flows over life, and it's different in whatever. But when you look at wealth as all of the financial resources and even physical resources, because I could, for example, sell this house, that a person has access to through their nuclear family and their network. So like I was telling my mama, I said, okay, so a Black person said, well, I'm doing better than my white friends. And I said, what that white person maybe isn't telling you about is the rich uncle. So the rich uncle that loans them $500,000 to buy the house, that white friend of yours pays it back at 3% interest, which is lower than any mortgage, right? And they were able to get a good home and build, you bought the house and you can build equity and whatnot, which is greater financial value. And so that counts as wealth, even though you didn't have the $500,000 in your own bank account, you had access to it through a network. That's one of the ways in which white people have done better. And not only that, because he openly talks about this in the book, there are white families still living off of money made during slavery. Still, it blew my mind. And it's because you have money from the crops, you have money from the land. All of these hundreds of years, white people didn't spend that money. They've been investing that money, and they are still living off of money made during slavery. So there is a number, and that number, according to this gentleman's research, Harvard business professor and everything, $153,000. So I thought I would give that to you all as some context.
Quick question. So is that in terms of net worth a stable number, or is that $153,000 a year for the rest of your life?
No. It's a one-time cash payment was the premise of his argument.
Thank you for watching this episode of Healing Race, and stay with us for a scene from our next video.
If you want to see more conversations like the one you just watched, please subscribe to our channel, share this video with friends and family, and like and comment on the video below.
If you'd like to be a guest on one of our episodes and have an open, real conversation about race, email us at guests@healingraceshow.com.
And if there are topics you think we should cover, we'd love to hear them. So please email your ideas to topics@healingraceshow.com.
As always, thanks for your support. We look forward to continuing the conversation with you. Now, here's a scene from our next Healing Race.
Now he's going after a fund, a venture capitalist fund that was started for Black people, specifically Black women, because what we do know, the research tells us, and I can go and give you sourcing, but the research tells us is that when you give a Black woman $1, that dollar is in her community. She is helping her
mama.
Yeah.
And so that fund is to help Black women who are helping build businesses that build community. And this man is now going after this, saying that it's racist and it's unconstitutional when Black women receive less than 1% of VC funds for business building. And for the life of me, this is what I'm talking about. This is why this is white people's problem, because y'all have to go get him. Y'all have to take ownership of him. Y'all have to sit him and his people down and be like, we don't want this. Because it does not hurt us if Black people are building wealth in this country.
To watch the rest of that episode, go ahead and click the video below me.
To see a different compelling Healing Race episode, you can click the video below me. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.